Okay, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Wake the Fuck Up Wednesday. Hello, how's it going? I gotta try to be able to see you all. Hey, who we got here? Hey, Sherry, Sarah, Sue, Taylor, all these awesome loves everywhere. Let me see. Okay, good. All right. Hey, Rosa. So welcome to Wake the Fuck Up Wednesday. Oh, let me move this out of the way because y'all don't need that right now. Today, we are going to talk about maximizing versus satisficing. Okay. So what are those, first of all, right? So maximizing, hey, Paula. So, so maximizing is where you try to make sure that you're making the best decision possible at all times. So how many of us have been there, done that, right? We are going to buy plane tickets, and before we hit buy, we're reading everything, comparing sites. I'll check Expedia, I'll check Orbitz. I'm going to check if I buy direct from the airline. I'm going to check if I go to Google Flights. There's all this kind of mind fuck we do around it, right? And that can sometimes lead to some good things, right? To be honest, we maximizers in general tend to get paid more. They can sometimes plan some really cool shit, right? But when someone approaches making a decision via, is this the best decision out of all possible options that could exist? Sometimes they win, but oftentimes they miss out by overanalyzing. They get into this analysis paralysis loop, right? And then it ends up being well, wait to see if the prices go down. Damn it, they went up. Or locking in a mortgage interest rate. They're ooh, maybe it'll get better. Damn it. So there's this kind of mind fuck that goes on, right? Satisficers, on the other hand, it sounds less boring than you might think. I mean, it sounds more boring than it actually is, right? Because satisficing, we're well, then what do they do? Do they just settle? But actually, satisficers, the way they make decisions is they decide ahead of time with preset criteria what it is they want, right? So they're all right, if I'm going to move to this place, I want to be able to ride my bike to work. I want to be able to have access to an international airport. I want to make sure that it's a fairly liberal town. I want to make sure that there's organic farmers markets year round, whatever it is. You decide what your ideal criteria is, right? Then you make your decision from there. So a lot of people think that if maximizers are going for it and getting the best, that satisficers are just settling. But that's actually not true, right? Because satisficers just get super clear about what they want and then go out, look, and if something meets it, they go get it. It's just a different way of making a decision, but one that really interestingly impacts your happiness level, right? So maximizers tend to really have a lot of stress while they're doing the research, right? And it's always well, should I check one more site or should I look this up again? And then after they've made the decision, they continue researching to see if they made the best decision. So they go and after they buy the ticket, they go and look, or after they buy the thing, they go check if it was on sale or if they could have gotten it better. And then they feel regret, right? Now, I'm kind of a recovering maximizer. I'm not saying I don't do it anymore. I'm just saying I've gotten a lot better. My husband is maximizer to the fucking max. He is when I say to him, I go, why do you do that? It seems like it makes you really regretful. He's well, then I learn more for next time, right? He learns more how to overanalyze it next time. But for example, he'll do that thing with the plane tickets, right? Where I'm this is a good deal, whether it's $100 or $200 difference somewhere else, it's good. I can get it. I'm done. It has a great itinerary, good price. I'm going to do it. And then I don't even think about it anymore. I didn't used to be like that, right? Part of it has to do with how much that $100 or $200 mean to you. Like dirtbag climber, it was worth half my day to save that $200 because I was only getting paid $75 a day at first, right? So there's the reality of that. But he and I have equal earning potential. And he is like, just totally obsesses about this. And then after, we'll continue to look and then be like, see, we should have waited. Da, da, da. When I bought my condo in Hawaii, I was like, these are my criteria. I want a bomber ass view. I want nothing between my view and the ocean. No fucking half view with some rooftop in front of me, no road in front of me, right? And I was just like, I don't care about the size. These are my important criteria. Because realtors would be like, oh, but all you have to do is go out onto the lanai. And I'm like, I don't want to have to go onto the goddamn lanai to see the view because I'm going to be working full time in here. I want to be able to, I mean, y'all have seen me do my Wake the Fuck Up Wednesdays. I'll be like, oh my gosh, there was just a whale, right? Like, I love that. And, or they'll be like, it's only a short walk from the beach and you just want to be on the beach anyway. I'm like, I do, but I also have to work, right? So I got really clear about my criteria, gave it to them. There was only a few things. That's the other thing. When you get so clear about your criteria, it narrows down your choices, right? Then I was like, awesome. I'm going to go and check these places out. Narrowed it down to 3. The next day, went back to those 3. And then I made my decision. And my husband was like, to his credit, he was like, this is a pretty cool place, but shouldn't you think about it a little longer? I mean, you just looked at this. And that was the thing, right? I was so clear about what I wanted. Maybe something better would pop up down the line. I didn't care. It was like, we get to decide, y'all, if we're going to regret something or not, right? And I just knew once I made the decision, I just wasn't even going to bother regretting it, right? That's a choice. So I was like, no, this is what I want. So I was making a really big decision in 2 days. Just as some background, you know, my husband tells me, bless his heart, he's like, before I make a big decision, I like to think about it for a year in every season. I mean, talk about maximizing. He's like, who knows how I'll feel with it in summer versus winter. And I'm like, okay, dude, no wonder it took you so long to propose. But like, I don't operate that way. Why? Even when I'm maximizing, I didn't think about shit for that long. So there is research that supports that maximizers are less happy. Maybe they earn a smidge more because they are the maximizers and they're looking, right? They're comparing and everything. But ultimately, they're not any happier. And a lot of that stems from the regret. And it may look like this is only in the context of like shopping or buying things, but this also happens in social situations. The FOMO. Should I have gone to the concert or to the party? If there's 5 parties, did I pick the right party to go to? Right? And it creates like such angst in us. Okay. So we can recognize when we're trying to maximize and then start to more satisfice. Now, this research that's gone on, I'm pulling up my research here because I love geeking out on stuff like this. Oh, let me see here. Someone might have been sending a message to me and I just want to see. Oh, Taylor saying, happy Wake the Fuck Up Wednesday, everyone. Yes. Okay. Here's the geeky research. Okay. Barry Schwartz. He was doing research. There's like actually a scale on maximizing, right? And he had just used these scales to measure, you know, how does this relate someone's tendency to maximize to happiness. And when people were high maximizers on the scale, they went down in happiness, optimism, self-esteem, and life satisfaction. The higher their maximization score, the lower those things were. The higher the maximization score, the higher depression, perfectionism, and regret. So you see, when maximization goes up, maximizing behaviors of overanalysis, analysis paralysis, regret later, waffling, rethinking, all of those maximizing behaviors, those tend to lead to increase depression, perfectionism, and regret, and decrease happiness and self-esteem, and decrease life satisfaction too, right? So regret is a big part of this. And I really want to emphasize to you that regret is optional. Like regret is something that we get to choose if we're going to do or not, right? I think about like bargaining in Nepal or something, right? And it's sort of like, I look at something and I don't want you to like inflate prices, but like you can decide after you pay for something, after you bargain, like, is this worth it for me? Great. Be done with it. If someone comes by and says they got it for half of what you did, no need to regret. Just learn some bargaining skills, right? And then be okay with your purchase because it was worth it for you. You get to decide if you're going to regret it or not, right? Because look, this analysis paralysis can be so debilitating. Like I had a client who was trying to decide where to move, right? And so we came up with her key criteria, right? Some of the stuff I mentioned are like riding a bike to work, yada, yada, close to nature. She narrowed it down to 3 places, right? It's like, great, all of these are awesome. Make a decision. Still couldn't make a decision. Make a decision by this date. Still didn't want to make the decision. Why? I want to know in advance that it's the right decision. Well, only some of y'all can predict the future. Most of us can't, right? So we're never going to know if a decision was the best decision until we do it. And even then, my friends, even then, we're not going to know for sure, because we don't know if we pick something else, if that would have been even better. We don't know if we didn't choose this, if we would have had less problems. We just never know about all the other possibilities in the world that could happen, right? So we just need to decide. We need to decide amongst ourselves, what are we going to do? How are we going to view this decision that we're making? Yeah. Okay. So regret is an option. Now, the whole waffling thing, right? Because this is where regret comes in. There's a really interesting study that was done. Let me look up his name here because I know I wrote it in my notes for you. Dan Gilbert, right? He wrote Stumbling on Happiness. He did this research with Monet paintings. So he had students rank 6 Monet prints, right? And then they could choose the one that they ranked either 3rd or 4th and take it home. And then 15 days later, they were asked to re-rank it. And of course, the people that took shit home, like the people that took a certain painting home rated that painting higher, right? And the one that they didn't choose actually rated even lower than before, right? So he kind of talks about this as the unanticipated joy of being totally stuck. Like if we allow ourselves to change our opinions about shit and to change our minds about shit all the time, we're going to be less happy. And people tend to be happier with stuff that they're like stuck with, because it's sort of like, like they accept it. And I don't mean this in a bad way. Like you can choose what you want to be stuck with and then be happy with it. Right. So then, so then he had a different experiment where he had photography students take home 1 of 2 of their favorite photographs, but they had to give it up to give up the other one to the class instructors. And then in one group, they made their choice and then like had to give up what they didn't choose for sure. Then in another group, they were allowed to change their minds. And they had several days to reverse the decision about which photo to keep. Guess what happened? The students who had to make their choice without the possibility of change were far happier with the photograph that they chose when asked about it later. And the other students who were allowed to waffle, far less happy with the choice they ultimately made. Isn't that interesting? So what's happening is the brain is naturally justifying its choices. You've heard me in other podcasts talk about how our brain looks for evidence to support what we believe. This is what is happening, right? And it creates positive sentiment about our decisions, but only, and here's the caveat, only when the brain perceives that a choice is complete and can't be reversed. All right. So Gilbert calls this our psychological immune system. So it's so key, right? You getting the gist now, come up with predetermined criteria. Your key criteria. You are not settling here. I'm not saying when you Satisfice to have a choice come along and go, it doesn't meet my criteria, but I'll just be satisfied with it. No, you get your key criteria set, and then you go out there and you decide like what to look for ahead of time. Then when something meets that criteria, you're like, awesome, great. Now, obviously, bigger decisions require a little more research, but not endless research, my friends. This is where the time constraint can come in really well. You can say, like I did, I'm going to look. I want to see everything that's on the market that meets my criteria. Boom, see it in a day. Now I'm going to narrow it down to the 3 I like most. Boom. Tomorrow I'm going to revisit them and decide. Boom, right? Now, that's after years of practice of Satisficing. So you can start small. All right. And I'm going to go into some tips for that in a bit. But I want you to start taking notes on this, right? Preset conditions that are your key criteria. Make a decision on something that meets all that key criteria. Focus on the positives of the decision you made, and don't fucking change your mind after. Don't waffle back and forth. Like with moving, one thing you can do is say, I'm going to decide to move here, and I'm not even going to wonder if it's the right thing for like a year. Like, I'm just not even going to let that enter my mind, right? I mean, it's sort of like in a relationship where you're like, for example, if you do a hand fast or something, and you're like, we're going to be as if we're married for a year. We're not even going to wonder if we should break up or not. We're not even going to wonder if we're right for each other. We're just going to assume that we're going to be together for this year, so that whole mind fuck doesn't even enter our minds, right? And we can do that with many decisions we make. We get to decide if we're going to be content. And the way you do that, a reminder to get super clear about what you want, so that when you do see it and you make your decision, you can say, I'm not going to regret this, because in the moment, this meets my criteria that I need, that I came up with in advance, and I'm not even going to stress about it anymore, right? And then don't go back and like compare. And same thing with social events. If you decide you're going to go to a party, go and be 100% present. And don't be going to huge parties right now. But you see what I mean? If you're deciding on a social situation, make a decision and be fully present there. And don't be wondering if you should have done something differently. Like I said, regret is different from learning, right? Like if my husband was actually just learning tactics for like researching plane stuff, that's one thing. But no, there was like heavy regret involved. And look, we all have developed this habit, usually for a reason. Maybe we got screwed over at work and we're like, we can't trust people. Or maybe one time we did just buy something that met minimum criteria, and it was like a car, and it was like a total lemon, and we ended up being like a money pit or something, right? But we can still learn from that without having deep regret, right? So, all right. The other thing to keep in mind is the decision fatigue that comes from having so many options. So when you get your criteria clear, you can narrow shit down. And Christine Carter wrote a book called The Sweet Spot, which it has a lot of great tips in it. I wouldn't say it's the most phenomenal read per se, but it had some great tips around like simplifying for decision fatigue for me. And like, I really got from it this idea of limiting my choices, constraining. So this can really sort of decrease the overwhelm that comes from a life where I have like so many choices all the time, right? It's funny, like our therapist told my husband and I, like, no wonder you guys argue so much, because you don't have a routine. Like we basically didn't constrain. We have so many choices every day because we created a life of freedom, which is awesome, but we also don't know what the fuck is happening every day. What are you going to do? I don't know. What are you going to do? And every day we have to have these discussions that most people who have 9 to 5 jobs and kind of a rhythm don't ever have to have every day. Maybe they have it once a week. So when we can reduce the choices, that can help decrease stress, right? So you get to intentionally choose where you want to do that. So for example, you can buy the same brand again and again from the same stores, whether it's toothpaste, your oat milk, your coffee, your tea, your cereal, your gas, right? Like if you decide a brand like totally lights you up and you love it, and then you just stick with it. That's where brand loyalty can come from. You're just like, done. I don't even have to look anywhere else. I'm just going to go here when they have sales and like figure it out. Like I can get variety in my life from someplace other than the grocery store or something, right? And it can seem kind of boring, maybe. And so I guess sometimes it is, but it's sort of like a choice. Like I'd rather have variety in other areas of my life than creating more choices in this toothpaste area of my life, for example, right? And so, and then the fashionistas out there, I know you're going to hate this, but one of the ways that works for me is I kind of have like 4 uniforms that I wear most days, right? If I exercise, it's my running shorts or favorite running tights. I have 5 black Patagonia sports bras and I wear a tank top and then a jacket if I need it, or if I'm in Alaska, I got to do the whole freaking like hat, gloves, face mask, all that shit, right? But that's what I do. And then if I'm giving a talk, I have these horny toe dresses that I love. I'm not getting any affiliate shit for this, but I have the same damn dress in 3 different colors. And that's what I wear with these really cute boots that I love. And I always feel great in the dress. I don't have to fucking think about it. I know I look good in it. I know it's flattering. That's what I do. Casual day in Hawaii, shorts and a tank top or a tunic, right? Casual day in Alaska, my like prana pants or jeans and a cozy t-shirt. And I leave a down jacket in my car if I need it. I get variety from like accessories and jewelry, right? Another thing is food, right? Like I eat pretty much the same 2 or 3 things for lunch every single day. Rice and veggies and a protein, or salad with a protein, or this dal soup I love with spinach, right? I tried to follow this like family pattern with meals, which I kind of fell off the wagon when I was in my postdoc program, but we're trying to get back on. So that would look like Monday soup night, taco Tuesday, Wednesday rice and chicken, Thursday fish and rice, or whatever, right? Like you get the idea. So it keeps things easy. And again, we can get variety on the weekends or variety when people come over or something, right? So if we get so much decision fatigue, what ends up also happening is it diminishes the quality of the decisions we make and our self-disciplines. Like we start off with this bank and we pull from it. So then we start making really bad decisions. Like, sure, I'll eat that at night, even though it's not what we really want for our bodies, right? So to summarize, right? Don't think of yourself as settling when you make a decision without exploring all the options. When you're satisficing, right? You will be happier. Determine your key criteria ahead of time. And if those are met, be satisfied, not in a settling way, in a yay, my key needs are met. And now I can move on with the rest of life instead of perseverating about this decision, right? So you can start small. Like I said, if you normally overanalyze, right? First, you can ask yourself, is this really going to change my quality of life if these socks get a hole in them sooner than those other ones? Like, is that really going to impact my life in a big way? Right? Like, I go deeper into the pod about all these things you can ask yourself to help talk yourself down from the ledge. But you can start off with like buying something for 10 or 20 bucks without researching it at all. You could totally do it. I know you can do it, right? Notice how it feels when you don't research it, and do it again. And you'll notice that your anxiety about not vetting every detail will probably decrease over time. Then you can graduate doing this with bigger stuff, right? Like where to live or a car you want to buy or something, right? And once you make a decision, my friends, please be happy about it. Focus on all the ways it's right for you. Don't second guess it. Don't keep researching it. We know that that will create regret no matter what you choose, right? Regret's a choice. Don't choose it, okay? All right, my friends, that's it for today. I love you so much. It was awesome having you here. Thank you so much. What is this little note here, Sue? Oh, yes. Sue, let go of that, right? Awesome. I love how sometimes these things just land at the exact right time, right? So thank you so much. You can go catch the replay if you hopped on late. Hey, Freedom School enrollment is open. Go to joinfreedomschool.com. Awesome stuff. We have amazing classes coming up. We have a cleanse coming up. There's so much goodness in there, weekly coaching calls. I can coach you one-on-one. It'll be so fun. So head over to joinfreedomschool.com. Otherwise, I will see you next week on Wake the Fuck Up Wednesday. Okay? Okay, go out there and satisfice, my loves. Bye.